Well, folks, how are you doing with this saga? Is it doing the world any good? We're up to the year 1956, and it's on General Electric television, and here are your jokes. One is they're not going to publish a Chinese telephone book any longer. There are so many wings and so many wongs, people are winging the wrong number. And what were the other two jokes?
Dining room table.
Oh, yes. One woman at one bridge table said, our dining room table goes back to Louis XIV. And a woman at another bridge table says, our dining room table goes back to J.C. Penney the 15th.
And best rating.
Oh, the reporter asked the co-ed, why did you choose this college? She said it had the best rating. And the reporter says, in what way? 7 men to 3 girls. Well, listen, honey, I can't tell you the fun of being on television every day, of going before the camera and sharing with people at home joy and happiness and goodness and cleanliness and uprightness and never lie, steal, or cheat, and be kind to animals, games and crafts, and we even had a kitty cat. And Marie DeSantis won the contest to name the kitty cat. Guess what she named the kitty cat, folks? Silver Tomcat. Cute, huh?
That is cute.
No, we had a treasure chest. It was an old sea chest. The kind that they had so plenty of, back in the early 1900s and before. And we received mail from the children requesting to be on the program, and we would put it into the treasure chest. And then on the TV, we would mix up all of the, we mixed up everything else too. We mixed up all of the names, and then a child would draw out the names, and it would be the 6 people would be on the show a couple of weeks later. Well, Jimmy Talbot wanted to make sure that he got on his show, and he sent in 100 postcards. Listen to this. This studio was no bigger than your dining room or an ordinary bedroom. No bigger than that at all. And in that studio, first of all, there's what you call a boom mic. And it's a dolly, and it's on wheels, and it has a platform. And there's a man behind pushing the platform, and then there's a man on the platform with a boom, and he's got the microphone, and he has to move that from every person to the next person who's talking. Can you imagine that? And of course, there was no air conditioning. And in those days, the cameras were not like they are now. They required so much light. Television was a light medium through and through. So these great big Klieg lights were 1,000 watts. One here and one there and one there. And here's our 6 children and maybe some of the parents. And now there's 2 cameramen. And the cameras are on wheels, of course. And in those days, a TV camera was this big. Nowadays, it's what? This big. And so when you packed all those people into that little tiny studio, plus the set of a ship, it really looked like a ship when you looked at it on the TV. It really looked like a ship. And I selected children to be helpers. Jimmy Talbot was one. Charlie Elton was one. Marie DeSantis was one. And they were so efficient. Oh, they were really adept. And they would dress the children who were going to be on the show. They were required to wear a white dress shirt and girls' dark skirts, black skirts, and boys' black pants. And they looked very nice. So Vicky's going to show you some pictures of them, how nice they looked. And we had to put on the shoulder marks, and we had to put on their hats. Oh, they looked so good in those caps with the visors. and then we had to give them a tie. And I can tie a tie in the dark. And I taught the children how to tie a tie on each child. And then the kids would come in and they say, "This is Chief Mate Johnny Palmer reporting from Amsterdam, New York. This is Chief Mate Lewis Jones reporting from Herkimer, New York, from Pittsfield, New York, from Connecticut, from all over." What a thrill for those children to be on that show and to be such a part of it. And how many commercials were we allowed? 3. In a 15-minute program, we were allowed 3 commercials, and some of them were live. And I had to select the cartoon. It was Warner Brothers cartoon. Ba-dip, 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 ba-dip. You know, Porky Pig and Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny and Woodchuck Duck. And I had to make sure that there was no ethnic insults. See, it was a different age from when Warner Brother made those cartoons and the age that they were being shown now, because everybody would love to sue General Electric. This whole thing was run by General Electric, and that was a thrill. That was a thrill to work for such a great big company and such a big, successful company. How much were you making then, Glendora? Let's see, it was $75 at Manchester. It was $125 in Boston. I think I was making about $175 to $225 by then. Now, this is 1956. Well, one sponsor was Junior Bootery. He sold Junior shoes to children, and he was giving away free lollipops. And he said, when Glendora does my commercial, I want her eating one of my lollipops all the time she's doing my commercial. So I had the lollipop in this hand, and I had the lavalier microphone in this hand. And a kid was just about to knock over the flat. So I gave him the evil eye to calm him down. And then I looked back into the camera, and instead of putting the lollipop in my mouth, I put the lavalier microphone in my mouth. That lavalier microphone clanged against my gold bridge in 70,000 homes, honey. Now, let's see, what else was there, dear friend, that we should tell the people?
Hide and seek.
Oh, you know what I would do, folks? I would say, now listen, children, I'm going to be over on Route 18, and there's a pull-out by the side of the road, and there's these fir trees around, and there's a little old shack in the background, and there's a waste can, and if I'm going to go out there and hide, and if you find me, I'll give you a present. I'll take some presents with me. Well, isn't that something? And they would come out and they would find me, and I would give them the presents. Wasn't that fun? I wanted to tell you about the microphone. So first they had the boom. Then the next thing that came was an RCA, and it was shaped like a carrot. It looked like a parsnip. And it had a string around it, and it went around your neck, and it had snap that snapped into the microphone. Well, that was pretty good, but it was sort of heavy. But it was good. And you could take it off and hold it and talk to people up close. And then RCA came out with this lavalier that I mentioned, and it was the size of a cigarette lighter. And that, what a great microphone that was. Oh, that was so nice. You put it around your neck, you weren't bothered by it at all. What else was on in those days? Howdy Doody, Captain Kangaroo, Romper Room, what's his name? The Neighborhood. It's a
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood?
Yeah, keep telling me, would you, honey? And Oh, and who was the beautiful girl who was a ventriloquist? Lamb chop.
Oh, Sherry.
Yeah, Sherry Lewis. Those were the shows, some of them then. And what else did I want to tell them?
Bronco Bill.
Oh, yes. Now, this was the most interesting phenomenon. They had one live show after another, and these shows were back to back. You know what I mean? One would go off the air and you had 1 minute to get the next one on. Can you imagine that? Well, in that studio, as crowded as it was, in the back wall was a set that had a cactus in it. And this was Bronco Bill. And he did these Western movies, and he did this live wraparound. Well, we had to get out of the studio. All the parents, all the children, myself, had to rush out of that studio in about a minute to get Bronco Bill to come on. And then the cameras would move up to my set, and turn around, and shoot Bronco Bill's, what I should say is videoed Bronco Bill. And then up in the main studio was Earl Jarvis playing the piano. That was one show. Kathy, somebody from Boston, had the cooking show. Trader Van had a Trader Van show. He traded articles. Gary Stevens, Earl Pudney in the After 6-7, the news show. Isn't that something? All live. And this place where they had it was an old bowling alley. A rickety old bowling alley. Now you would think that General Electric, with all of its prestige and all of its stamina and all of its money, would do a little better than that. Well, there is a sequel to that, and I'll tell you that on the next chapter. Anything else, sweet?
Yeah, AFTRA.
What, dear?
AFTRA.
I don't get it.
Peter Pan.
Oh, yes. Let me, I would do a show Monday through Friday, and Friday night after the show, I would take the bus from Schenectady to Albany, and in Albany, I'd get on a Peter Pan bus, owned by Peter Picknelly in Springfield. He lived in the neighborhood of a former boyfriend. They were neighbors. And I would take the bus from Albany to Springfield, and we had such a amiable bus driver, Jack Goodfellow. Isn't that a great name, Goodfellow? Jack Goodfellow, and he was such a good driver, and he was such a gentleman. And that's what I would do Friday night, and I would go home, and on the weekend I was still decorating the apartment. You know something? I don't know anything about decorating, about inferior design. I don't know anything about it. But you know something? It came out beautifully. It just came out beautifully. And what else, hon?
Franklin City Desk.
In Franklin, he was such a good reporter that when you work for a newspaper and you do your job well, you have to be promoted, and they promoted him to the city desk. What does the city desk do? The city desk decides what events will be covered. And he didn't, that wasn't his call in life. He wanted to write about little people doing great things. He wanted to write and interview and pass on good things and kindness. So he was sort of unhappy about that. And I think in the next chapter I'm going to tell you what came of that. What else, honey?
Jack Parr.
Oh, yes. This is the days when Jack Parr was on The Tonight Show. Was Steve Allen after him or before him? I don't know. I lived at the YWCA, and it was on the Mohawk River. The kids called it the Schmohawk River. And the name of the show was the SS Glendora. And I told the kids that the SS stood for steamship, and they said, no, it stands for stupid show. And it was the room in the YWCA was very, very nice. It was a double room, and it was on the third floor, and you could look out the window onto the Mohawk River. And there was a bunch of noise in the Mohawk River. They were dredging it, cleaning it up. And that was all Indian territory, you know, all up through there, the Mohawks. And what else, sweet?
Dr. Dottie.
Oh, remember I told you I waited on table when I was summer in between years, in between the college years. And one of my guests that I had for a customer was this very jolly man, very thin, and very sociable, very congenial. And he was a PhD. And it turned out that his name was Dr. Doty. D, dog, O, T, Tom, Y. And guess who he was, folks? He was a professor. In fact, he was the head of the Department of History at Union College, prestigious Union College in Schenectady. Well, he was one of my guests, and I think a couple of summers. And I'm in the YWCA dining room, and in walks Dr. Doty. He liked to eat at the YWCA dining hall. And naturally, he lives and works in Schenectady. Isn't that interesting? And he told me about the Hogg family, people, these are people, and how much money they had. They cornered the silver market, if you remember. And one of the daughters was named I'm a Hog. And the other one was named You're a Hog. URA. Well, that was fun. What else can I tell the folks, honey, in 1956 General Electric?
Camera lens?
Cameraman, I think.
No,
I
lens.
that. What, dear?
Lens. L-E-N-S.
What was that?
L-E-N-S. Like the camera lens. Like the, that's okay. All right, how about dinner invitations?
Oh, yes. Thank you, friend. I'm sorry about the hearing. Many, many dinner invitations. The children begged their parents to invite Glendora and her mother to dinner. My mother was a constant companion. She used to come up and stay with me and help me with the show. What a great mother she was. Her name was Edna Leathers Folsom. And they wanted my mother and myself to come to their house for dinner, and we went, and it was very nice. There were always in the studio 2 cameramen, a floor man who had a headset. Well, they all had headsets, but the floor man would take directions from the director. You know, a director never sees anything in the studio. All he sees is what's on the screen, and that's how he has to work, by what he sees on the screen. And so he would tell the director to move this and tell the floor man to move this and move that, move that. And we had a prop man, and the prop man would buy all the props. I would give him what I would want for the next day's show, what I needed for the props, you know, for the games and for the crafts. And the prop man would go buy them for me and have them on my studio desk, my ship's cabin desk. I think we did pretty well. Is there anything else?
No.
I just can't tell you the fun of being a TV star. People, as I said, just laid out the red carpet for you. They would do anything for you. It was really great. And let's say, no, radio was sound, right? It had voice. And movies had voice and pictures. But this was television. What's different about that? Folks, it's live. You are seeing it at the minute it happens. Simultaneously, you are seeing it when it happens. And this is a great, great asset of television. And that's why I've stuck with it for how many years? 78 years. Is a fascination of that medium. Sound, picture, live. Immediacy. Okay. That's enough, isn't it, for 1956? Next chapter will be WRG. Oh, no. We were all called in by the manager, Raymond Wolpott, and the program director, Alfred Zink. Franklin used to call them my kitchen friends, Wolpott and Zink. And we were all called in there, all of the live shows. And remember, I named them all to you? And we were told that there had been a survey, and that the survey said that people wanted film instead of live shows. And so, management made the decision to drop all of the live shows. So a chat with Glendora was going to be over in a month, and all the other beautiful live shows. Isn't that terrible? And when did that happen? In 1956. In the fall, I believe. I can find out by asking Wayne Collins, who was 7 or 8 years old and heartbroken that the show was no more. Grace and peace.